As we inch closer to the announcement of the union budget, it's also important to get in a sense of what each and every sector or industry is hoping for from the finance minister, especially the real estate industry. Joining me right now to discuss the same and lots more is Mr. Rajeev Talwar. He's the CEO at DLF and the chairman of Naredco. Mr. Talwar, thanks very much for taking out the time. I want to begin this conversation by asking you, what exactly do you think are the creative options that lie in front of the government to tackle the growth issue that we are facing right now?
Very good question, and I must just give me 1 minute to explain what is my take and that of Naredco later. The truth is that the Prime Minister has changed the economic discourse of this country and what is being discussed worldwide, including at Davos recently. He has set a target of a $5 trillion economy, which will catapult India from a $2,000 per capita income to roughly double of that, 4,000 plus. If that is to work out, I think we need to fire on all cylinders. We need to pull out all the stops, much like what China did almost 30 years ago till now. We need to have absolute ease of investment, ease of doing business, and in the real estate sector also take into account that it means ease of mobility, whether for old and senior citizens or especially for the millennials who are now young enough to get into jobs. Therefore, I think the Prime Minister's office, the Principal Secretary to the Prime Minister, the Finance Minister herself, the Prime Minister, which he normally holds meetings very often, I think they've been doing a tremendous lot. They've been doing a tremendous lot of work. There have been changes in the first 5 years. There's been a sea-changing change in the laws, which is GST, in the indirect taxes. In direct taxes, we've seen corporate tax being cut. In real estate, not only is there a 25,000 crore fund which has been created, all this put into place adds that yes, in every sphere of the economy, there needs to be a sea change. And for that, you have to work constantly. It's not just at the time of the budget, which is quite similar to what the Finance Minister has been doing after the budget in July 2019. She has been meeting each and every industry, each and every sector, each and every association, each and every chamber of commerce and industry. It is a 24/7 job, very much like what was being done during the Prime Minister's office, during Mr. Narasimha Rao's tenure, where the Principal Secretary to the Prime Minister used to hold either weekend meetings or every fortnight a core committee of secretaries, not only for implementing the FIPB, but also for making changes which accounted for that 5-year term being known as the founders and changing of the economic direction towards liberalization and globalization. I think India needs to make huge strides in infrastructure, in housing, and possibly every industry if we are to attract billions of dollars worth of investments, allow Indians to make billions of dollars of investments also within the country and not look anywhere abroad. It also means that yes, while agencies will try and catch as many offenders as possible, but it should not look like a witch hunt, and it should actually be promoting, and all agencies should be promoting and devoting time to big data mining and thereby getting more and more people into the tax net, which is not to reduce the contribution or the effort of the private sector for each citizen to become more law-abiding and pay their taxes which are due, because if the government kitty goes up to something like $500 billion, then I think we are very safely going towards a $5 trillion economy.
Right. So, Mr. Talwar, I want to dwell upon your previous point where you spoke about infrastructure and real estate. So, what are the options, according to you, that lie in front of the government? You know, there's a lot that's been done towards affordable housing and making sure the supply is kept in line. But what exactly can be the stimulus to make sure that demand comes back on track? And even so much so that maybe the government can look at overcoming its inhibitions towards providing benefits to medium-end and high-end housing instead of just affordable housing.
Okay, let's come down to housing and construction and real estate. The first thing is that, yes, once rollover of debt, I think this was done when the global slowdown came in 2008. Therefore, it's nothing new. It can be done, which will reduce the pressure on banks for now getting more liquidity into the process and into the sector. A rollover of one time should be giving room for developers to go ahead and complete their projects, besides the 25,000 crore fund which has been put into place and which has already seen investments, I think, into Supertech, into Amrapali, into some other places in other geographies, and perhaps also will go into what has been done by the government in the latest effort, that is to take over the management of Unitech. Number two is something to introduce and or allow again subvention schemes. Subvention schemes are those where finance is given to the developer but accountable from the point of view of each buyer, so that any buyer who books an apartment does not have to part with either money or be liable to pay interest till the project is complete. And the time taken for completion of the project is actually the interest is paid by the developer himself. Therefore, it gives you an assurance to the buyer that the project will be completed and no burden at all. It makes the developer accountable for paying interest during the process of construction. The third one, I think, which is a big change which should be coming in, is on the rental policy, and that will cover not only affordable housing but also mid and high-end housing. What is this rental policy? Today, on any rented premises, we actually get a standard deduction of 30%. The yields are so low on rent that it does not make sense for buyers to buy multiple homes and put them on rent. If the same as Neredco has been recommending is increased to 50%, it will give every buyer and every owner of a house a higher return on rent, and thereby not only along with the demand increasing for affordable housing of 300 or 600 square feet, you will find a large scale investment into homes. And especially for millennials or job seekers, those people who are retiring, it would mean that they can go to any geography in the country while owning one house in the same or a different geography, and making the pool of homes available for renting much larger. Why are we saying so? Because there has been a tremendous success in leasing of commercial premises. You know, bulk of the FDI in India has come into commercial sector leasing. Therefore, if we are to make a reality of surplus number of homes in the country, which will keep the prices moderate, rents moderate, yet afford a good return on investment, I think this has to become a nationwide and industry-wide phenomenon, and therefore government needs to promote it. The other things which we have been saying are, number one, connected with direct taxes. What are those? Increase the exemption or the relief given on payment of interest on homes. It was 2 lakhs in a good 15 years ago in the Atal Bihari Vajpayee government. Please index it to inflation. Whatever the figure is there now, whether it is 5 lakhs or 6 lakhs, allow that, so that people, middle class people actually, and not so rich people who invest into homes get a much higher relief and thereby invest into their own housing in larger numbers. The other part is that yes, long-term capital gains. Why should there be a cap, that you should be a cap on only 2 homes to be made if you sell a home? Or why should there not be a complete freedom as long as you reinvest the entire sale proceeds from any home into any number of homes? I think that should be something which should be dealt with. The third portion is that a provision was introduced to tax on a notional rent if your house is vacant or if your flat is vacant 2 years after completion. I think those abnormalities need to be done away with, and the tax authority should be concentrating on big data mining on how to enlarge the number of people who pay taxes.
Yeah. Add to that, Mr. Talwar, actually, I just wanted to come in and ask you.
Yeah. The other one, I think, is on indirect taxes. I think on indirect taxes, it was introduced 1 year ago that there will be no input tax credit on homes which are being bought, either 1%, the GST rate was reduced to 1% on affordable homes and 5% on others. I think everyone has realized that we need to enlarge the tax trail. We don't need to miss it out because it becomes a double whammy. Number one, people who buy homes and people who are building homes, there's an input tax credit, and that becomes almost like a 5% tax. Therefore, the universal demand, not only by NAREDCO, but also by CREDAI, has been that please reintroduce a 12% GST rate on all homes, especially even if you want to exclude affordable homes apart from all others, mid-level homes, high-end homes, make it 12%. There was a 1/3 abatement for land, so the net rate comes to 8%, but then allow input tax credit because everything must be accounted for. We are moving towards a more transparent economy. Why should this remain a hidden figure? So those are the few suggestions which one can make readily.
Mr. Talwar, running out of time, but just one quick question added to that. Do you think that increasing the value of a new home from about 45 lakhs to 1.5 CR and bringing a larger and far larger set of houses under construction and unsold inventory, this to provide one-time settlement, that will work, or you feel otherwise?
Yeah, I think what you're talking about is that 45 lakh limit for affordable homes in all over India.
Yeah.
If that is so, that yes, we have been saying that in super metros and metros, the value needs to be increased up to 1 crore of rupees, because the real cost is not of the homes which are being built, which are 300 to 600 square feet of carpet area size. It's actually the price of land. And I think if we cannot allow, or if we cannot provide for public sector land or government owned land to be made almost free of cost for affordable housing, then we need to increase this limit of 45 lakhs. But that should be done, and I hope that what you and I are discussing today, what people are seeing, gets noted by the government, and let's hope that for the best. The government is doing a lot, but as we said so, in terms of infrastructure, housing or construction, we need to be firing on all cylinders. In fact, not only in these two sectors, but I think in every industry, every sphere of the economy, if India is to achieve not only a $5 trillion target, but then never look back and go towards a $10 or $15 trillion GDP growth rate, figure.
Right, and we really hope that the government's listening, because real estate as a sector has large linkages to the rest of the economy as well. Mr. Talwar, thanks very much for joining us.
Thank you so much.
Sharing
I'm so
your
grateful
thoughts
to you
on the budget. It's Mr. Rajeev Talwar there of DLF, highlighting the industry wish list of the real estate space from the budget this time around. Thanks for watching.